On this Wednesday morning, it's time for our Allied Cooperative Program. I have Mike Kampstra, Certified Energy Relationship Manager out of Marshfield. Now, it's been pretty mild so far this fall, but we're probably going to be needing some more heating as we go along.
When you look at 2024 so far, it's been one of the mildest falls on record. So not a whole lot of corn drying going on. Corn and beans coming off pretty dry, almost too dry in some instances. And so, we're not seeing a ton of propane demand, but overall we're still seeing an uptick in propane prices. Not as dramatic as we typically see when we get cold weather. Just a 5 to 7 cents uptick, maybe 17 cents since the summer. So relatively slow uptick on propane pricing. So propane stocks, inventory, all looks good. We are exporting a lot of propane, so of course that's going to be a factor going forward. And as we get into these colder days of November, December, assuming that the temperatures do start to drop here, I think we're going to see those propane prices continue to slowly tick higher. Then on the heating oil side, relatively easy harvest demand. It wasn't overly a big demand, mostly because the machines just don't have to work quite as hard when everything's dry and, everything's coming off really nice. Heating oil inventories are right around where the 5-year average is, not above, not below, but just kind of right on pace for that. We are seeing weaker demand from the industrial sectors in both the U.S. and China, and that's played a factor. One last thing I'd say about energy futures is we did see a pretty significant uptick in investors buying futures in October. A lot of people like the kind of lower prices and we're buying for next year. And, if you haven't booked anything yet, I wouldn't worry. I think we're going to see another round of decent prices late November to maybe late December timeframe. Obviously, we're watching the markets. We got our heads in the markets all day this time of year. We're looking for those indicators that show that we've got some pretty good pricing here. So you are able to lock in for next year, and so I would recommend just keeping an eye on it, now, and see what happens over the next 2 months. I think that'll be our opportunity.
And the stocks out there for our energy, is that looking like we're going to be able to get in everything that we need?
Because harvest has been such a relatively weather friendly, it hasn't really put a crunch on inventory or supply. So we didn't really see any of the local basis runs, which is where there's these sharp periods of demand and it drives basis much, much higher during the fall harvest. And for the most part, while there is still corn and beans out there, and there probably will be for some time yet, the bulk of the harvest demand is probably over. We're past the peak. So as I foresee, we won't have any shortages or issues with fuel supply this year. We're well positioned anyway in that regard that we can pull from 5 different terminals, and we have bulk plants all over the place. But, it doesn't really look like we're seeing any tightness in the market. And that has happened in the past where we've seen some really tight markets where it's hard to get diesel during harvest. But this year, that's not the case.
And is it still a good time to contract with Allied Cooperative and make sure you have enough for the rest of the season and into next year?
As far as contracting futures, we're only offering futures now for the front month, which is December. So the good news is prices have been fairly depressed due to the kind of even keel nature of the harvest. We've seen some lower prices. I think that industrial demand is really impacting diesel prices and keeping them low. So we're sub $3 here, and really at this point, when we're talking contracting, we're talking for next year at this point.
And we're talking a lot about the diesel contract. What about contracting fuel for our houses and heating?
We do have home heat contracts available. You can contract on a budget pay basis or a prepay. So there's lots of options out there, too, for homeowners looking to lock in a cost while prices are low. This is a great time to be thinking about that. just before the heating season here officially kicks off, which any day now, the rain will turn to snow, I would imagine.
And we need to keep our houses warm and keep everybody happy. And that's our Allied Cooperative Program for this Wednesday morning with Mike Kampstra. He's the Certified Energy Relationship Manager out of Marshfield. And I'm Jill Welke.